What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the team at 980. We are always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and we're streaming live on YouTube too at the team 980. Big show today, NBA Finals, where we'll start. We might hit a little NBA draft at some point too. The Athletic just dropped a fairly interesting mock draft. I actually don't believe what they have the Wizards doing is going to be on the table based off of what I know and what the Wizards have said publicly about how they feel about this draft class. But we can get into all of that as we go later on in the show. We will also obviously wrap Commanders minicamp as we will hear from Dan Quinn in our Pick 6 at 6. And Logan and I will dive deep into the Commanders receiver room a little bit later on in the show as well. So excited to do that and take a look at the Commanders receiving depth. We did hear from Dan Quinn earlier today. Again, you'll hear again from him extensively in the Pick 6, but he was talking about Noah Brown and the injury update, and there's not really a lot to report at this time. So take that for what it is. He's getting the MRI later today. Nice and convenient for them to do the MRI on a day where they don't have another media session for, I don't know, when's camp open? July 20-something? Yep. So, yeah, I guess preseason or pre-camp press conference. We might get an update on Noah Brown unless somebody does some reporting, and I'm sure that Nikki and John and Ben and everybody will be doing the reporting on that front. All right. As for how we start this thing, first of all, hello, Anthony. How are you?
What's up, C. Hoff? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
I was just making sure.
Oh, why wouldn't I been able to hear you?
Because I'm looking at the stream, making sure like it was. We're using something different today, so I just wanted to make sure.
Thing is, I got enough tech background that nobody knew anything until you said it. But I'm remember, Anthony, I hear you through since we're gonna just peel back the curtain.
Yeah, you hear me through the board.
I see you on the street. Like, I'm operating from home today. Downtown DC has started its descent into chaos for the weekend. So I'm like, I'm gonna steer clear of that. I can stay in my own house and do the show. It'll be all right. So on these days, I see Anthony through a screen, which is funny because even when I'm there, Anthony, I'm kind of seeing you through a screen because you're like floating off on the side. But I hear you through the Comrex. I hear you through the radio equipment. I just see you through the stream.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you not know that?
No, I did.
I would hope so because you're the one running the radio side of the show. Okay. That makes me feel great. The NBA Finals last night. Another weird game, but God, that was a good game. Excellent game. Game 3 of the finals with the Indiana Pacers ultimately getting the win. I believe the final score was 116-107, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, just an outstanding performance by the Pacers. And it's funny, man, like the narratives that come out and the narratives that were going in. And yesterday, I kind of pushed back on the is Tyrese Halliburton being aggressive enough narrative on the specifics of like what it means to be aggressive. And I think, Anthony, what I've decided is I was being annoying. Like, I don't want to say like what I was saying was incorrect. I'm not saying that just to like protect myself. Like, just what people meant instead of just pushing back because it is kind of a lazy thing that I think people do. Is he too aggressive? Like, I don't think Tyrese Halliburton was playing poorly, but I also think it's okay to say Tyrese Halliburton wasn't playing in the way he needed to for the Pacers to win, specifically in Game 2. And frankly, in Game 1, until the very end where he hits a miraculous shot and they ultimately do win Game 1. And there's a great comparison that I think can be made here of just how thin that margin is and why this line of delineation is so important. So I was listening to Zach Lowe. I think people listen to the show for a bunch of years or even a bunch of weeks know that he's my number one basketball listen. And so he was on Simmons' podcast, as in Bill Simmons, after the game last night. And so I was listening to that today after I watched the game. And Bill was talking about how people just need to accept that Halliburton is what he is. He's a guy that averages 19 and 9 in the regular season, 19 and 9 in the playoffs. And he, like Chris Paul was like that, and Steve Nash was like that. And these are guys that people always were like, oh, you should be more aggressive. You need to shoot more. You need to do this, do that. And the reality is like they were MVP caliber players. Chris Paul was the best point guard in the league for a long time. He kind of took that mantle from Steve Nash, who won multiple MVPs and had deep playoff runs. But like, I hate saying this, but it's also true. Neither of those guys won a title. And the reason I hate saying it is because, like, I'm not telling you they weren't good or they were never good enough to win a title. But I think when you talk about a true championship team, where we've talked about there's these layers that you just have to get better and better. And I thought Richard Jefferson was great on this in the broadcast last night, where he's like, you think you've played hard before, and then you get to the playoffs, and then you think you're playing really hard, and then you get to the finals, and you're like, I can't believe I'm playing this hard. I can't believe this is what's required. And so the ratchet just gets turned up and up and up and up and up. And I think at some point to win a title, your best player, which Chris Paul was the best player on his teams and Steve Nash was the best player on his teams, needs to have these moments where they grab the game by the cojones. I hope I can say that. Spanish. What a savior. They grab the game by the and they just say, I'm going to take over in the most direct way possible, which is to score. And I think last night, Tyrese Halliburton hit that balance for that archetype of player perfectly. He didn't need to have 40, but he couldn't have 15. He couldn't take 11 shots. He's got to get downhill, touch the paint. And yeah, if 5 OKC players collapse, then we're going to kick out and we're going to need some guys to hit some shots. But it's like what I said needed to happen. If I'm going to flagellate myself for being pedantic with the language of aggression, I can also give myself credit for this. Where did he do a lot of his scoring last night? It was the pull-up jumpers and it was the floaters. And it was in that mid-range game that I said it's against 28 other teams or 25 teams or 29 teams. The right thing to do is if you get in that mid-range and the defense starts to collapse, kick the ball. And you have to trust it. And because OKC's rotations are so on point, and because this is the NBA freaking finals, Tyrese Halliburton's going to have to take some bad shots. You just have to. You have to flip that switch. And I thought he did that last night masterfully. And there's a bunch of other stuff we can talk about with this game because obviously TJ McConnell mattered a lot. Benedict Mathurin mattered a lot. Jalen Williams, I thought had a really up and down day on the OKC side, some really good stuff, but also some key turnovers. The way Chet just disintegrated in the fourth quarter, the physicality of Indiana. There's so much. I could talk about this game, and frankly, we might for an hour because this is what the sport is for. The sport is for deciding a champion. We're at the deciding a champion portion of it. But these games, these series swing in the largest capacity on the stars. And SGA had probably his worst game. I mean, the first 2 games he dropped 30+. So easily his worst game of the finals, one of his worst games of the playoffs last night. It wasn't horrendous. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough. And I think that's the point that I want to take out of this and out of the point that I've reinforced by the game last night is when we're talking about winning a title. And I think it's important to say this in a way that doesn't just turn it into if this guy doesn't perform this, then he's a loser and he sucks, right? It's just a blunt fact of what it takes to win a championship in the NBA, which I've talked about ad nauseum, I think is the hardest thing to do in sports. That if you're a star trying to win a title, the level you have to play at is so ridiculously high that if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't meet it for a game, you're probably going to drop it. And the tweak, the turn up for Halliburton to get in the paint more, take a few more shots, take a little bit more risk. That's the difference in winning and losing at this final stage. And again, it's not to say that Shai isn't capable. I hate, that's where, to me, our business, the media, gets it wrong. Is they try to make grand summations about players based off every game. Every game becomes a referendum. Within the course of this game, game 3, Halliburton played at a championship level. Gilgeous-Alexander did not. There's a bunch of other stuff that happened and reasons why, and we should and will get into it. But I think it's also okay to say that if you're trying to give fair and accurate analysis about what happened last night in Game 3.
I'm not going to lie, Craig. You just laid a lot or presented a lot to the audience. But to piggyback off, Tyrese Halliburton's performance, again, like that's sort of kind of, I think, what everybody wanted to see out of Halliburton. Like, just be aggressive, get some shots up. And the thing is, like, it wasn't just shots. He was also just controlling the pace of the game. And in the first half, like, it's not like he was, like, killing everybody. I think he probably had, like, 12 total points in the first half. But he had, like, 7 assists also. So it was the fact that he was dictating the pace, getting others involved, and being aggressive, getting, his feet in the paint and being able to dish along those lines. So I definitely think they're going to need more of that from Halliburton because we know he has it. And that's the thing with Halliburton. Like, if we could see this on a more consistent basis, I think people will be less reluctant to, anoint this guy as a superstar. But it's some games where he goes out there and has 26 and 15 assists, and then there are games where he goes out there and have 12 and, 6. So it's more so just, I guess, wanting to see more consistency. But this is the biggest stage of them all, and you got to act like it's – and you only have they got to win 2 more games. So
they're 2 games from a title. And I think it also, in some ways, we're spoiled by the last 2 decades of basketball, right? So, and this like is a different conversation in terms of like what, and it really just comes down to what's your definition of a superstar. Like if your definition of a superstar is you have to be like a top 20 all-time guy like LeBron James, then you're just going to be really unhappy with really good players all the time. And I don't think you have to be LeBron James to win a championship. I think you have to be LeBron James to win 3 or more. Like Tyrese Halliburton's probably not going to be the best player on 4 title teams unless he gets more consistently aggressive in the ways that you're talking about and, becomes a consistent 25 point per game type of guy and keeps the passing at the level that it is. Like, yeah, at that point, we're talking about a totally different stratosphere of player. We're talking about a guy that goes from making jokes about himself on the Olympic team to being the best player on it. Like, we're talking about a very different caliber of player. But within that, like, he's like, if this is who Tyrese Halliburton is for the rest of his career, he's going to be on the NBA 100 list when they make it, right? Like, Dame Lillard was on the NBA 75 list. Russell Westbrook was on the NBA 75 list when they did their 75 players of the first 75 years of the league. Tyrese Halliburton's track right now is that he's going to be on the NBA 100. Best 100 players, but if he's on players 75 to 100, that's very different than if you're in 1 to 25. And because we've had LeBron for the last 2 decades, and like Steph Curry is also on that side of the list, like we're spoiled on what a superstar has to be. Those guys are whatever's beyond a superstar. Those guys are generational. Durant, even to an extent, as a scorer is generational. It's the lack of roundness in his game that probably actually puts him closer to Halliburton, in my opinion, than someone like LeBron. But that's, he's probably like dead in the middle of the two, right? And so that's the thing with Halliburton is like, yeah, sure. If he's probably not going to be that, and that's okay. He's probably going to win a lot and be very, very good for a very long time and be a multiple-time All-Star and Hall of Famer if he keeps on doing what he has been the last couple of years. But if he does take another step, which is possible because he's still not old, he's not, like he's entering his prime, not exiting. I think, what is he, like 25, 26?
Yeah, he's young.
So if he locks in that level of consistency, then I do think we're having a different conversation about Tyrese Halliburton. As for the other pieces in this series, what did happen with SGA last night and why an old friend might have become his worst enemy, plus the bit players, if you will, that changed the game for Indiana in that second quarter. We're talking about the NBA Finals with you here on the Hoffman Show. see what you did here, Anthony. I see what you did here. Tyrese Halliburton playing like a superstar. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Anthony, you are an avid pickup basketball player. Is there someone that you just hate when they guard you, even though you like they may not even be that great of a defender? They just seem to have your number, or they know all your moves, so it feels like it's a cheat code. Like you're not even playing basketball anymore.
Yeah.
Do you want to shout him out?
It's my man Kevin. We grew up together playing basketball at all three levels. And yeah, he knows everything about me. He's one of my best friends.
So shout out to Kevin. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a guy like that too. His name's Andrew, and unfortunately for him, his last name's Nemhart, and he plays for the Indiana Pacers. And these guys grew up playing like in Canada basketball together, and they like there is a lack of fear in Andrew Nemhart, and just to like, I know you don't scare me. When you're guarding a guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who has 2 straight 30-point per game seasons, is the reigning MVP, and has been an absolute destroyer of worlds in these playoffs. And I think, like, we led with the Halliburton side of this. I think there's a chance Indiana, like, obviously they're up 2-1. So saying, oh, there's a chance Indiana wins this series. Like, no kidding, bro. They're up 2-1. But, like, the more I watch it, the more I, like, almost want to just be like, hey, if I have to make a new pick, I'm taking Indiana in, like, 6. Because they are wearing Oklahoma City out. Oklahoma City was tired at the end of that. And I know Indiana, had a tough series against the Knicks, kind of. But like Oklahoma City's been through a bit of a ringer. The Western Conference is a lot harder. They had to face Denver. That series went 7. I know the Minnesota series, they really figured out Minnesota, and that was that. But like that was a strenuous series to an extent. Indiana kind of just disposed of people in an easier way. And they're built for this. And I think the thing that is standing out now, we talk about like Gilgeous-Alexander getting pressured 94 feet every single possession. I mean, even if he's given up the ball, well, then how do I get it back? And God, this guy's annoying just running next to me 94 feet. I mean, there was a possession last night where Halliburton had the pick 6. You remember this? And you remember what Doris Burke talked about and RJ talked about on the broadcast?
Not immediately after. So
Halliburton gets a 1-on-0 break, right? He pick 6s it. Nobody gets back. Easy dunk for Halliburton, right? 1-on-0. So when the ball goes through the basket, the camera is, let's say, 3-point line and in, and there's nobody there but Tyrese Halliburton. Obviously, Oklahoma City has to get 2 guys back there to inbound the ball, one to inbound it, one to catch it. Here comes Andrew Nemhart with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have a 1-on-0 fast break where no one else has to run down to that end of the floor, and they still apply full court pressure. That is what it's like to play this team. There is an utter relentlessness about them that is, I don't even know what it's relentless, but then I'm like relentlessing my relentless. Relentless squared. Like it's never ending. It is, I would say, I would imagine it's debilitating. And I think it comes through in the fourth quarter last night where every time Shai gets knocked down, every time Chet gets knocked down, Caruso goes down once. Those guys are taking a while to get back up. They're like, let me slow this down. Let me catch my breath. And for a team in Oklahoma City that's used to bullying teams that way, that bullies teams with their pace and bullies teams with their physicality, what's the thing that the bully hates? The bully hates getting bullied. And Indiana is not scared by this stylistically. And in fact, they're like, bring it. This is our jam. Let me play at a chaotic pace. And I think Rick Carlisle lived with a couple turnovers here and there. Obviously, the game pivoted in the second quarter last night when they stopped turning the ball over completely, had 0 turnovers in the quarter, and scored 40 points on one of the best defenses we've ever seen. But, man, it's scary what this Indiana team is capable of. And really, ever since that they've been healthy, and, calendar turns to January, February, March, of this year, this is who they've been. And so could Oklahoma City turn this around? Hell yeah. Like, I'd still probably take OKC in 7 if you give me a new fresh pick right now. The Vegas odds still have Oklahoma City favorite, I believe, in this series. But I don't know, man. Gut feeling, funny feeling about it. Like, there's some stuff Indiana's doing that I don't know exactly what the answers are for OKC.
Yeah, like everything that you're talking about right now, it's energy, it's effort, and that's been their identity. Even if you talk about, when Shea had fallen to the ground, when Chet fell to the ground, this was early in the fourth, Craig. This is after Shea just got his blow. So, like, you're tired with 8 minutes and 40 seconds left to go in the game. You're holding your knees, you're bent over. Like, that means they're getting to you. And I think they were definitely getting to them in the second quarter, where you see TJ McConnell, coming out of nowhere, intercepting the ball, getting steals and things of that nature. Those are lapses in judgment. And you have those lapses when you're tired, when you're fatigued. So I think it's definitely wearing on them. And it's going to be interesting to see how, that pressure that they've been employing affects them tomorrow, because instead of having 2 days in between or 3 days in between games, you only have 2 this time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Friday. And, like, if Indiana can, keep up this intensity, I think this is really going to be problematic for the Thunder in the long run.
No doubt about it. In fact, next, let's talk about the other wild cards in this series, the bench for really each side. Does Oklahoma City need to change who is on theirs, and AKA make a lineup change? But also why Indiana, despite thinking about maybe trading a key guy over the last couple of years, keeping him might have just won them a finals game. We'll discuss next on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We'll have the definitive conversation in the Commander's universe about Deebo Samuel's weight coming up in 15 minutes. You tell I'm excited, Anthony, that we have to apparently talk about this?
Oh, yeah, I feel it. All the way over here in 10-15
in my bones. I'm so excited to talk about something that none of us know anything about, that everyone has an opinion on.
Because Russell does too.
Those are my favorite topics. Yay. Yeah. 4:45 today. Must tune in radio. Woo! We'll do it. I don't know what to tell you guys, but people are talking about it, and I got something to say. So 4:45, tune into your boy. But you already are because you're hearing this right now. NBA Finals last night. So, do the Oklahoma City Thunder not know that TJ McConnell likes to play hide and seek, Anthony? And he's really good at it? Man. That was kind of crazy. The one. Like, he had multiple McConnells in the game where he's stealing the ball off inbounds. But the one where, I think it's 95-91. They get he cuts back door, misses, ball gets tipped out to Nembhard. He hits like the awkward 7-footer, the one that everybody always misses because it's such an awkward shot that you never practice. But Andrew Nembhard, he's fundamental. He hits it. I think it's 95-93. Alex Caruso goes to inbounds the ball, and it looks like when a D lineman snatches a screen pass. Like that, we were like, that wasn't supposed to happen. 95-95. And his energy combined with that arena is something else. But as much as that is a huge factor in the game, I'm not trying to at any point dismount TJ McConnell, who had a historic night. I think he's the first guy ever in finals history to come off the bench and have 5 steals and 5 assists in less than 15 minutes, which, what a stat line. Benedict Mathurin was ridiculous last night. And in that second quarter where Indiana makes the run, he's one of the key guys, if not the key guy. And I think it's even more important. I'll shout out Malik Andrews here because she's the first person I heard say this stat. I think Doris had it on the broadcast last night, and I'm sure it's floating else out there because it's a stat. All these numbers are available somewhere. In the first 2 games, the non-Shai Gilgeous-Alexander minutes, a.k.a. when the MVP is on the bench for OKC, the Thunder were +7 in the series. They were winning those minutes. Now, a lot of those minutes were also the non-Halliburton minutes, but if you tell me who's a bigger deal to their team offensively, like who is in a bigger rut when their guy's on the bench, I'd probably tell you OKC. Like, they are very, like, sure, Chet can get it going a little bit. Jalen Williams can get it going a little bit. But really, like, SGA is the engine that makes that offense go, where Indiana, as we've talked about, is used to running things through guys like Nembhard. They kind of systemically can run stuff because they play such a motion offense. They just get the ball moving. They find cutters. They have kickouts. They can post Siakam. Like, they've got options. But they don't have a ton of guys outside of Siakam and Halliburton who, like, you really, really want the ball in their hands and it to stop, and then, hey, let's run a pick and roll and break it down. Nembhard can do it some. You get him in a bind, fine. Nesmith can, like, drive closeouts and stuff, but you don't want that. McConnell actually can create off the dribble, like, not a ton to score, but, like, he'll get a paint touch and then get defenses to have to react to him. But nobody's really, like, a 25, 30-point threat except for Benedict Mathurin. And I think that's an important switch up to have. Because if you have one way to play and then the other team shuts it down, you're toast. Also, it just keeps the other team on their toes. So, like, if you're fastball, eventually they're going to adjust. If you throw a curveball in every now and again, the fastball is more effective. And so to have these moments in the game last night where Mathurin is just able to get in on a pick and roll situation or get in an ISO situation and do his thing, I thought that was obviously critically important, but it just shows how well built they are. And again, and listening to some coverage of it, I think at first they looked at him as a guy who doesn't make as quick a decisions as a lot of their other guys do. And they were like, oh, is this a problem? Does he fit for us? And then eventually they were like, well, what if we turn that weakness into a strength and just said, hey, man, do your thing. And last night was hey, you do your thing. Mathurin was on. And he, along with McConnell and the contributions from Halliburton, we should talk about Siakam a little bit too. Those guys ultimately lead Indiana to victory.
Yeah, those Mathurin minutes, Obi Toppin and McConnell.
Toppin's fourth quarter was ridiculous. He was awesome.
Man, his energy, the way he runs the court, the putback dunk that he had in the fourth quarter, you can clearly see there are 5 blue jerseys in front of him, and nobody's boxing him out because they're that fatigued and they're mentally broken down. And he just skies in for the putback dunk. So I think when you just look at how meaningful those minutes were and impactful they were in just a few minutes, though, like McConnell, you talked on 15 minutes, Mathurin 22 minutes. The fact he has 27 points in 22 minutes, it's absurd. But he had it going. He was confident yesterday. And the fact that he can break down defenses, and he's been doing this like all season long. Like that is one thing he could do, coming out of Arizona, but it was more so he wasn't as decisive. So they're finally, all putting it together, and it's beautiful to see, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And Oklahoma City is a team that's supposed to be super deep, right? It's like, oh my God, Oklahoma City, they're 10, 11 deep. Had 12 points off the bench last night. 8 of them were from Caruso, who plays 32 minutes a game. Like, I wonder if Casey Wallace's minutes are about to drop a little bit, or if he's about to come off the bench for Caruso. I think that's the change that might happen. But Kendrick Williams, who's good for them at home, plays 2 minutes. Nothing. Isaiah Hartenstein, those minutes are not going great. He's a -4 last night in 18 minutes. Isaiah Joe only plays 4 minutes. I think they could probably get him some more minutes, but
I think they should get Aaron Wiggins more minutes.
Wiggins,
one of those two.
Yeah, I mean, Wiggins is a -5 in 10 minutes last night. No points, only takes 2 shots, but he obviously helps them win game 2. The problem with those two is they're not as good defensively. And so if you're going to be this juggernaut defense, are you going to sacrifice a little of that to get the shooting? Because I think the other thing last night, too, is 116-107. Like, that's Pacers' pace. Now, I know Oklahoma City also plays fast, but, like, look at the final score of game 2. It's much, much, much lower. So I think that's something to pay attention to, too, is, like, how grindy and grimy can the pace get? And Oklahoma City, while they like to run, I think is actually better off slowing it down. Last thing, this transitions perfectly to the last guy that I want to talk about, which is Pascal Siakam. Because I talked about last night, like, how do they get him going? Can he, go bury Caruso on the when he's on the post, or Wallace or whoever? Can he get out and transition a little bit? Can he push the pace? Can he do the Pascal Siakam stuff? And just quietly last night, even though he sat out a ton first part of the fourth quarter, he comes in, he makes a huge play when he does get in the fourth quarter, and ho-hum, he's got 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He's +8 in 32 minutes, 8 of 14 shooting. Like, he was awesome. They just played so well last night. And even Turner, who is a -8 in his 30 minutes, and he's got the huge plays late. He has 5 blocks on the night. And he was just wearing Chet Holmgren out, and Chet is so good and will be great. He is not big enough and strong enough yet at the age of 21 with his skinny ass frame. And that's a problem right now. It's like the youth and the inexperience and the lack of strength, like that stuff that comes that you get older, and we talk about all the time how young teams don't win. And we're the Thunder going to defy that. And if they are, they're going to have to stop turning the basketball over, and they're going to have to bow up a little bit, because they're going to have to stop doing the stuff that kills young teams. And in game 1 and game 3, they did. They did not. They lost. Game 2, they did, and they were suffocating, and they used their youth to their advantage, and they won. And that, to me, is on the Oklahoma City side, it's like, guys, we got to grow up, and we got to grow up right now. We're in the NBA Finals. This is the timeline. And if they don't, then they're going to go down as like one of the more shocking upsets in NBA Finals history because of how good they were in the regular season. And if they do figure that out, then they're going to be a team that's shocking because they won a title when they're the youngest team in the NBA, and you're not supposed to be able to do that.
It's going to be so crazy if Rick Carlisle does it again, because, again, when he won with the Mavs, the Heat were so talented. They were doing so well in the regular season, and Rick Carlisle, he coached his team. He outcoached Spo in that series. So that'll be interesting to see. But also, I think one thing we haven't spoken about is OKC's turnovers yesterday. The fact they had 17, and again,
Indiana was doing things, man.
Yeah, TJ McConnell definitely was a result of some of that. but you just got to be more protective of the ball. This is the most they've had in the playoffs this postseason. So I think that's something they'll be conscious of, especially Shea. He had 6 of them, so
yeah,
that is uncharacteristic of him.
For sure. All right, when we get back, people are talking about Deebo Samuel's weight at minicamp and OTAs. I've actually been there and seen the man in person, so I'll tell you what I think of their opinions next on the Team 980. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too, at the Team 980. All right, Anthony, it is time to play a game. Don't you love when I spring a game on you?
Yes.
It's your favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Can't get enough of it.
Can't get enough of it. All right, we're going to play a game. We're going to play, the game is called In Shape or Out of Shape. Okay? I'm going to say an athlete. You're going to tell me in shape or out of shape.
I bet.
Patrick Mahomes.
Looking at him?
The game is called In Shape or Out of Shape, Anthony.
In shape.
Luka Doncic.
Well, lately he does look in shape. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say in shape.
If you watch him play basketball, he looks pretty in shape. And also, yeah, what did we do the calculation on? He had that belt squat video that was going around the other day.
Yeah.
Our guy had, I think, 8 plates per side on the belt squat.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, he's Nikola Jokic.
In shape. Well, I don't know. His off season started.
Oh, yeah. Right now, he might be out of shape because he's riding horse and drinking beer somewhere in Serbia. But when it's
season,
time to go, yeah.
In shape.
Yeah. None of those guys look like they're the most in shape, but they're pretty productive athletes. Let me relay to you a story now about Nikola Jokic. This is an excerpt from a piece in The Athletic a few months ago. Jokic was 19 years old and 2 months removed from being drafted in the second round by the Denver Nuggets. He had come to P3 Performance Institute to undergo an advanced athlete assessment. When he attempted a vertical jump, he jumped 17 inches. It was, according to the director, the worst vertical jump they had ever recorded. In the last decade, as Jokic grew into an NBA MVP and one of the best basketball players in the world, the story of his trip to P3 and his 17-inch jump has become a part of his lore. In many ways, it's actually the least interesting part of the story. As Elliott, the director, his team evaluated Jokic, he was put through a series of tests. P3 tested his hip abduction, or how far and fast one can affect one's hip when moving laterally. It measured second-order metrics like how quickly he could decelerate and how high he could jump 2 times in a row. And it looked at a list of what Elliott calls granular biomechanics, hundreds of variables that rate things like force production, loads, and joint extension. When the tests were complete, P3 put the numbers into a machine learning algorithm and clusters athletes into groups with similar attributes. What was most revealing about Jokic was not the numbers themselves, but the players he compared to. He was right on the fringe of a group of guards that Elliott called Swiss Army knives because of their ability to do anything on the court. In other words, it's a pretty unique athlete. And that's why anybody talking about Deebo Samuel's weight can take their opinion and shove it where the sun don't shine. It doesn't matter what you think by watching a dumb video on the internet of a guy in June. These are mostly tight shot videos. You can't understand how fast he's going, and he's intentionally running 3/4 speed in most of them. What are we doing? Like, as a business, as a media, as a collective society, because it's not just, this didn't start in the media. I think this started on social media, and often those two things get lumped together. But I know, for instance, this morning, many of you are getting back in your cars having heard the junkies talk about this morning on this very radio station. So I know it's made its way to the media from social media. But when I posted a video of Deebo a couple weeks ago, I couldn't believe that how many comments were about his weight and how he looks slow or out of shape on a drill designed to not run full speed. And then you see the video of him running full speed, and it's all tight shots, and you can't understand how fast he's going compared to the guys next to him, which is all that matters. I saw a video and some photos of Usain Bolt the other day, now. Julian Alfred, the women's 100-meter champion, was at an event, and Bolt was there, and she was super excited, Anthony, to get to meet him because they had never met before. And Usain Bolt now has a bit of a gut, because he's not competing anymore. He's well past his prime. I bet you Usain Bolt could still run like a 13-second 100 if he had to. Like Usain Bolt, there's this hilarious video one time he was at ESPN, and they like did a race in the parking lot, and Usain Bolt was jogging, and he was smoking everybody. You can't tell by looking. But ultimately, we'll be able to tell on Sundays when we have the view of the football field in the same way that we've seen it on TV. forever watching NFL football. And if Deebo Samuel is running as fast as he normally does and other people can't catch him, we can be, yeah, he's in shape. Or if not, and he looks slow, then at that point, I think it's fair to be like out of shape, which is very different than to say 100% Deebo Samuel's in shape and I was out there and I saw it with my own 2 eyes and everyone's wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I was out there with my own 2 eyes. I've been around high-level athletics for a long time as a reporter, and I've been a trainer for 10 years. I have no idea if Deebo Samuel's in shape. None. Because what makes Deebo special is he moves uniquely for a man his weight, his size. Him being bigger than everyone is a feature, not a bug. Now, if it gets too big and he's not athletic and he's not mobile and he's not quick, then yeah, that's a problem. But if he is big and just as quick and fast as he ever is, force equals mass times acceleration. If he's got a little extra mass, all it means is he's hard to tackle. And I think anyone who is spending any amount of time on his weight in June is just either desperate for content or completely wasting their time on purpose.
Yeah, I think this is the time of the year where the trolls come out because they have nothing else better than to do. So you see things like this, but I was, super happy to see George Kittle, former teammate of his, Jeremy Reeves, also hop on social media. And I was actually talking to Zaire about this earlier today, and he's just like, yeah, this is what, athletes sort of kind of like have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes you just got to ignore and block out the noise. And this is in part to, why athletes sometimes stay off of social media. I mean, you have some guys like Kevin Durant who loves to go
quite
back
enjoy
and forth.
it.
Yeah, he enjoys it.
Likes a sparring match.
Yeah, but these are just ridiculous things to say. And I mean, it's June. The media, we're gonna eat it up because it's nothing else to talk about. But it just also guys just trolling and wanting attention.
It's just fundamentally, you cannot judge a book by its cover. Wow, how fit a person is beyond what you may or may not like aesthetically. What is attractive to you, which is personal for everyone, is very different than fitness for performance. Those are two different metrics. And if you want to be able to look at your football players and be like, that guy's hot, that's between you and you. If you would like a football player that can actually perform, then we can talk about what it means to be fit. Because I will tell you, as a trainer, Anthony, people that come in that are like, quote unquote, shredded, and they were coming in for like their free session when I used to work at a big box gym. I used to love those clients because I was going to break them and it was going to be funny for me. That like asking them to do stuff that wasn't that hard. Oh, you think you're fit? And then all of a sudden they're like ready to puke halfway through the session. And you're like, oh, I thought you were fit. This is all for show, huh?
I'm taking this personal because I think I'm one of those people.
No, you just didn't.
I almost died though, Craig.
You did almost die, but that's because you didn't eat enough beforehand.
Yeah.
Kids, eat something before you hit class. Even if it's in the morning, you need a little sugar in the system. A couple carbohydrates will do you just fine. So it's what the confusion of aesthetics and fitness. Like that's literally is a different show. It's called the Train with the Best podcast, and I do it with Chris Gores, my partner in that side of things for 10 years. And by the way, Chris, hilarious example of this. Chris is like a 5'10". I'll give Chris 5'10", Filipino guy that's now 40 years old, and he just like walks around real slow and kind of dopey, and then he goes to demo something, and people are like, "Did you just put on like a cape? Are you this is a guy that ran like 4.4, probably maybe even 4.3 when he was in high school, coming out of college. Chris played football at Cornell. So it's like, what happens if we gave a supercomputer brain rocket boosters? Chris. But you can't judge a book by its cover. And that's what people are trying to do with Deebo. And they're doing it not even off seeing him in person and up close. They're doing it based off of cell phone video. Stop doing that. You'll sound smarter. And that's what I have to say about Deebo Samuel. As for the rest of the receiver room, that was a conversation Logan Paulson and I got into this morning because we were talking about the Noah Brown injury, and we now know that we don't know anything about Noah Brown, but just kind of looking at the depth of the receiver room, and that is our Take Command Thursday for you, as we'll replace that for Not My Beat next here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. All right, top story of the day today, since it's not my beat time, is Commanders minicamp is done. But actually, it's still kind of the lingering, like, what's going on with Noah Brown situation. Dan Quinn, you'll hear directly from him coming up in the Pick 6 at 6. But if Brown were to be out, or just generally speaking, with Michael Gallup battling hamstring issues, etc., I thought it was a good time for us on Take Command to take a look at the receiver room. So this morning, that's exactly what Logan and I did. We talked for literally 30 minutes about the receiver room. We're not going to be able to play the entire thing for you right now, but here's a nice solid chunk of it. Starting with some thoughts on Luke McCaffrey, who's had a nice offseason as we head into the summer.
It's interesting, like through the OTA process and through the minicamp, really, like when everyone was healthy at the beginning, you know, you're talking Deebo, you're talking Gallup, Noah Brown, like that group, you're like, man, even though Terry's not here, it feels like it's got some teeth to it, which is really exciting. Because then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Terry comes back, and you got kind of the four horsemen of the apocalypse there. They all have different skill sets. They all have different body types. And I was talking to Santana about this, and I was like, man, it would be so great if, you know, they had these, like these four different body types. Noah Brown kind of being bigger, Deebo kind of working from the slot, Terry that traditional X role, and Gallup with kind of that vertical speed, kind of that Z body type that everyone gets really excited about. And obviously there's been some attrition there. You know, there's been, you know, Gallup's got a hamstring. Noah had the thing yesterday, and guys have had to step up into different spaces and different roles. And last year, I think we would have felt it a lot more in camp, because it was kind of like Terry, Noah, and then it was like OZ, Crowder. Like there wasn't a lot of depth to the group. There wasn't a lot of depth. And so this year it's like, oh, well, who's going to kind of step up and fill that role? And it's been really nice to see in the OTAs Luke kind of step in and fill that. And you just see a guy, in my opinion, who just is starting to understand and learn the position a little bit better. And that might be lazy analysis, but it makes sense, because he's he's only been playing receiver for basically, this would be his fourth season, because he played 2 in college after converting from quarterback, 1 last year and then this year. And so you see a guy who's kind of learning some of the route running nuance, right? There are times where I'm like, hey man, like we can get a little bit, like, so for example, does a great job on the backside dig of a concept, and he kind of freezes when the ball's in the air, and he's got a lot of separation because the route was good, the stem was good, but he kind of freezes when the ball's in the air, and the DB has a chance to make the play, but he kind of uses his big body and like shields the football and makes the catch. A better receiver is going to attack that football a little bit more, right? And those are things that he still needs to improve on. But I think you see, and you were talking about this, a better burst, and in a way that I wasn't sure he would get to in a year based on last year's film, right? So it's nice to kind of see him take those steps. Is he a true 2? Probably not, but has he improved? Absolutely. And is that exciting to kind of, everyone talks about new additions, but I think the other area, and Fred Smoot brings this up all the time, the other area that's a lot of fun to talk about is the improvement of guys on the team in the building, right? And getting the roster better that way, and developing talent from within. And I think about, you know, kind of what Dan Quinn prioritizes, or at least what he talks about prioritizing in its development. And I think Luke McCaffrey is a great example of a guy who's improved a lot, and I'm excited to see what he looks like when training camp rolls around.
Yeah, I am as well. The thing is with Luke, like the numbers on paper in terms of what he is, size, speed, explosiveness, are pretty good. And I just never felt that last year. Like, you feel the size occasionally. He had a couple of nice like comeback routes and stuff on third downs early on in the year when he was playing a little bit more on the outside. And even, you know, the kick return stuff was good, but you're never like, oh, that dude's out there flying. Like, he was a 4.46 guy with, I want to say, I'm just trying to look it up real quick. I think he had like a 1.5 something, like low 1.5, if not 1.50, 10-yard split.
I remember looking back, we were talking about this at some point this offseason, off camera, I think, and we were talking about his numbers, and it was like elite numbers in terms of movement skills, elite numbers in terms of, like, when you looked at his body weight, height, and kind of aggregated all together, he was like a very special athlete.
4.46, 1.52, 10, 36-inch vert, 10-1 broad, 6'7", 3 cone, 4.02, 20-yard shuttle.
Yeah,
that number is real elite.
Is diabolical. Like, that's an insane 3 cone. And so, like, you know, go ahead. Yeah,
I never felt that last year. You're just like, he's out there running around, and like, you know, I know he's solid, but you never felt any kind of special athlete. he is bursty this year. And he talked about the game starting to slow down for him a little bit when he did a little press avail the other day coming off the field. I mean, he is definitely now feeling the game at a different level. And I think part of that you could certainly speak to, as a former player, especially as a pass catcher, is like once you understand the timing of it all, now you know when to burst. Now you know when to be explosive. And, that has allowed him to, I think, get in a little bit more space. And, there's a play on Tuesday in practice where he catches a crosser and is able to scoot all the way into the end zone. And you're like, oh, he's running away from people. We never saw that Luke McCaffrey last year. It just felt like, occasionally he'd make some things happen in the screen game or whatever, but you never felt the athlete. And I am excited to see what happens if we can feel the athlete that Luke McCaffrey is, because there ain't a lot of dudes running around the NFL. Like, the NFL is full of freaks. There ain't a lot of dudes who have the combo of 4.46 long speed, 6.7 3-cone, 4.02 20-yard shuttle. That's pretty elite, quickness.
Absolutely. And so I think the thing is, a fast guy or a good accelerating guy does not necessarily make a good route runner, because there's an artistry to it. And I think you see some of the artistry with, the easiest one to see is like Justin Jefferson. Or like on the team, maybe it's Zach Ertz, right? A guy that just understands kind of how to weave and change speed, not slow down, not speed up, get into the cut, give that false acceleration, break leverages, and it's beautiful. Like, in my opinion, like, because I love football, I love watching people run routes, I love watching all elements of it. But that's the cool stuff when you see that. And Luke, like last year, was just like, I'm gonna run the way this thing is drawn on paper. And I think that's one of the things that when you watch route runners grow is they learn the artistry element, like what to accent, what to highlight. And it's been cool to watch elements of there's still a lot of growth that needs to happen. I'm not saying he's arrived or anything like that, but I think you're starting to see him color outside the lines a little bit in a positive way, kind of adding his own creative flair to it. And if he can continue to do that, like, I do think there's an opportunity for him to play receiver in the NFL for a long time. And it's something that I'm excited about. And I think that we talked about this earlier in the offseason when we talked about where Luke was at. And one of the things that I said I wish I would see from him more was this kind of instinctive route running. And he seems to be doing that now. So again, like, in the absence of Noah Brown, in the absence of Michael Gallup, he seems to be taking advantage of that opportunity. And now he's working with the second group a little bit. He's not always working with Jaden. He's not always working against the first DBs, but you got to make plays, right? And I think the first step to building confidence with the staff, to building confidence with a quarterback, is just start to make some of these plays. And so all of a sudden they say, okay, Luke looks like in good shape. Looks like he's doing some different stuff. Let's give him more opportunities.
For sure. And, if Noah is out for part of or all of training camp, he'll get more. And then if Gallup can't stay healthy, like, at that point, they're going to need him. That is something that is worth pointing out as well. As for some of the other guys in this group, there are some interesting pieces. Really interesting. Like, obviously, from a feel pretty good he's going to make the team standpoint, Jalen Lane, who I don't think is super popped as a receiver unless he did anything crazy yesterday. Like, I kind of forgot about him on Tuesday.
Yeah, like, I think on Tuesday and even yesterday, like, it wasn't like I think he had like a drop, you know what I mean? But like, I will say one of the things I'd point to is when he catches the football, because again, reminds me a little bit of like early Christian McCaffrey, like, not super nuanced. Like, he's a horsepower guy in terms of how he runs routes. But when he catches the football on something underneath, like, I see dudes taking angles and he just breaks the angles. So that's really cool to see, like, that explosive ability. So if you can get the ball to him on a shallow cross, or get the ball to him on a screen, or get the ball to him on like a deep dig, like, he's got enough horsepower, acceleration, explosiveness, top end speed to just bust angles. And you see people looking silly. And so again, I'm not sure he's like going to be your Z receiver. Like, to me, he kind of feels a little bit like early career Deebo Samuels in terms of how I would ideally like to use him. Like, I'd like to get him on a bubble, like to get him on a reverse, like to get him. He can run some routes, but I don't want him running every single one. I want to keep his route tree nice and tight.
But can we get him on that high cross where you get him in space and he's running at full speed?
Yeah, 100%. And so I think like he's definitely a piece. I think ideally you'd want him to be your fourth guy, kind of like Diami was early in the year last year, where he's going to block, he's going to be physical. He's going to kind of take advantage of screens. He's going to take advantage of shot plays down the field because he does have that explosive ability. And I think that would be a perfect role for him in year one. And obviously that can grow and develop as the season goes on. But that's something where I'm like, oh, like this will be really interesting to see. That's ideal. But, you know, obviously the team needs to be healthy in order for him to kind of accommodate that role.
So then you have two young guys that I think have stood out a little bit, and two vets that have stood out a little bit. The vets are KJ Osborne. You're like, oh, right, you're a dude who had 50 plus catches a couple years in a row in Minnesota, and just like it's nothing crazy. Like he's not. We talked about him, when they signed him last year. Like he's not a special athlete. He just kind of understands football. And you're like,
he's not a special athlete by NFL football standards, right?
He would smoke me in any athletic competition.
Just to be KJ, we got your back. But
the NFL's, as we said, full of freaky athletes. But like he just understands, like, oh, I need to sit down here. And so you see him just making like simple underneath catches, being in the right spot. You see that. And the other guy that has had a little bit more burst and is playing a little bit on the outside and doing some things on the veteran front is Chris Moore. He's entering his 10th season out of Cincinnati. His career high, I think, is 48 catches a couple years ago in Houston. Most years he's between like 12 and 22 catches, but he's stayed in the league for a reason. And I kind of feel like you're watching him and I'm like, I understand why you're still in the league.
Dude, I was just about to say, I like his game. I like his game a lot. Like he's like kind of like I don't think he's this good, obviously, but like the Zach Ertz of the receiver room. Like he just gets it. Like, and he's not the best athlete. He's not the most technical, like, oh, I'm gonna win with like jumping over people, but he understands like I think it was the first or second day, it was like the second round of OTAs, so like the sixth practice or something, and he ran like a little post takeoff, and it wasn't supposed to be a post takeoff. You can tell it's just supposed to be like a post. And he just put a little bit of seasoning on it, and the DB thought he was running a dig, and he just ran the post and was open by 15 yards. And like that's the thing with him that's really hard to kind of manage, is because he's in year 10. Right. And I've been this guy before where you're like, because of how the depth chart works, like I'm the third tight end on most teams. So I'm going up against a younger DB. I'm going up against a second year guy. I'm going up against whatever. And so I've got all these tricks and people look at me and they say, Logan, you're 275 pounds. Like there's no way you were catching balls. I catch a ball against a first year safety. I'll tell you that right now, because again, you understand what they're looking at. Right. You're saying, oh, they're looking at this. They're reading 2-1. If I show this stem, he's going to think this route combination. He's going to buzz out of here and I'm going to get this ball right in the seam. And so like, that's what he brings. He brings like this tremendous like knowledge and background of football. And so you're like, he looks awesome. Like really, when you go to practice, right. Like he sticks out every day.
You're like, who's 19?
Right. And part of me is reluctant to be like, that's the dude right there, because I just think when you've been in the league 10 years, you've had as much experience as he's had, it shows up in how he plays. Like he's going to look good in these settings against, like when he's running with the twos and Marcus Mariota, like him and Marcus together against is a cheat code. Like, you know what I mean? Like they've played so much football at this point. So.
Yeah, against some guys that might not be in the league in a couple weeks or in a couple months. Like respectfully, or going to be on practice squads.
Practice squad, whatever it looks like. Yeah, like, and so I think that's something that I'm like, where do you weigh that? But in terms of a guy that's just pops consistently and catches the football well, stays grounded through the catch point, like all those things that you want in your receiver, like he does it. And there's a reason he's played 10 years, and those are the reasons. It's just like, how do you value that at this point of the offseason?
To me, I value it as if Noah is out or Gallup doesn't want, like he just is hurt all camp, and like we're like, all right, we're not doing this. We're not going to have him make the team. Like if and all of a sudden there's a receiver spot open, because like let's be real for a second. I was doing this math earlier on as we were talking, right? Terry, Deebo, Luke, Lane, there's 4. And then if it's Brown and Gallup, like that's 6. That's it. That's done. That's the receiver room. We're talking about a bunch of dudes that aren't going to be around. But we don't know if these guys are going to all be healthy. And so at that point, if another spot opens, one, like how all these guys do on special teams becomes really important. And I don't know how he is as a teams guy. And I don't know how the guys we're about to talk about are as teams guys. But like,
well, I'll tell you, play 10 years in the league, like you're
probably
not
playing
bad at teams. You're not bad at teams, yeah. Okay.
So if Noah Brown is out and all of a sudden Noah Brown becomes Chris Moore, I don't feel nearly as bad about that as I would some, young guy who doesn't have any experience. Like it raises the floor. Like you have a know-how that you're not going to mess it up. And even you might, if given some opportunities, you might make a couple of plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's a great point. And I think he I don't know, did he have a catch last year? They had a couple games where he's playing on offense, and I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I think last year he didn't wind up having a catch in Houston. He played the Texans, I think, in 2 different stints. The way I was looking at the stats, but like 2023 had 22 catches, and then 2022 he had, I think, career high 48. So like it's not that long ago that he's been productive.
And again, I was watching him. Yeah, I remember watching him. He played last year. Like he elevated from practice squad and played offense and played teams. And so again, like Noah Brown to me is special because he's so like he's looked sharp. Like just I know he's dinged up. He looked awesome. And so like that's gonna if he's missing any significant amount of time, that could be because he looked like a true outside horse. And so I think that's kind of frustrating. But I do think if you needed a guy to kind of step in, and even if Luke like wasn't quite ready yet and needed like a developmental buffer, I think he's a really good guy to have in the building. They obviously like him quite a bit. So I like him. I liked what he's had. In terms of flash, he's definitely flashed. I don't want to say the most, but he's flashed a lot compared to the other guys in the group.
So the other younger guys, although this guy I'm about to talk about first isn't quite as young as you might think, just because he hasn't played a lot. Michael Strachan is 6'5", 225. He's also 27 years old. So he's not, man. But he shows up and like the 6'5"-ness shows up if you want that body type. And then the other guy, kind of the Deebo, Jalen lane, if you will, is Jacoby Jones. Yeah. Like number 10 out there, 6'3", 228, and he's 23, an actual rookie, and he's just like another little bowling ball that they found in that type, and he's made a couple of plays, and he can scoot, and again at 6'3", like he's actually a little bit bigger version of that as opposed to Lane, who's 5'10", and Deebo is like 6 foot. So those two guys, I'm gonna call them inexperienced guys, with Strachan being 27. They are the last two guys that I think are worth mentioning at this position.
Yeah, and I think with Jones, like I checked the Beast because I was like, "Who's this freak?" But he's only 6'1". He's like 6'1" and a half, something like that.
We'll get on the Commanders' website for listing him at 6'3".
Yeah, college numbers, you know what I mean, and that's why the Beast is so awesome because I don't know, he takes the tape measure out and measures all those guys himself. But yeah, so because he doesn't look 6'3", and there's a reason because he's not 6'3", but he is 228. He's a big kid. He's thick. He looks like Deebo's a good comp because they're kind of like that same kind of like running back type of body. And he had flash. I do think you see some rookie stuff from him in terms of like not the most polished, like when do I sit down in zone, not being on the same page with the quarterback. But I remember watching his college tape and being like, man, I don't know if this guy's got the juice. But watching him over the last couple of weeks, you're like, oh, okay. Like if he can find a role as a teams player, like maybe he's your guy. But the Mike, how do you say his name? Mike what?
I'm going with Michael Strachan.
Yeah, Mike Strachan. So I actually remember watching him coming out. He came out of like Charlottesville or like a small school, like D2 somewhere, and he's 6'5", and he's got this kind of traditional X body type, and he's kicked around the league for a couple of years. But like when you watch him, he's big, he's huge. He looks like a true like kind of like Calvin Johnson light type of guy, like long arms, long limbed, like he can run. And like yesterday in practice, he had a great catch from Marcus Mariota. Like he was working a box fade, and it was, I forget what the exact coverage was, but it was like some type of 2. And so he's kind of right behind the flat player, right in front of the safety, working for width. Mariota puts it on him. He jumps up, kind of high points it, brings it down, shields the ball from the safety. And I'm like, that dude could play NFL football, and there's a reason he's been around for 5 years. It's because he's tall, he's long. He's made a lot of catches in OTAs and minicamp, like kind of sneaky stuff. Like when they had the split field, like he was kind of dominating on that far field over there.
Yeah.
And so, again, he's a guy that's kind of falls in the Chris Moore bucket to me because he's been in the league for 5 years. He's been against NFL DBs for 5 years. And he's going to look good in this situation because, like, Vigors, for example, is going to have a hard time dealing with a guy who's got a deep bag of tricks and is 6'5". So I like him a lot. I like what he's shown. The thing with him is teams value. Usually those tall wide receivers have a hard time finding a role on teams. Bryson Tremaine last year being the exception. But I don't know, man. I like him a lot. I like what he brings. And so, again, like with the shakeup of the potential injuries here, the Michael Gallup, the Noah Brown type thing, like I think he could be a dark horse to make the team. Now, it's hard to evaluate like how he is in the meeting, all those types of stuff. But he in terms of flash, he flashes. But again, in the same way Chris Moore does, like he just like these DBs he's going against, like most of them are rookies or second year guys.
Carlin Vigors is a UDFA.
Yeah, they've never seen this dude. They've never seen a dude like this.
Right.
Who's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", 230, can run and has route running nuance. Like that's not a thing they've seen in college. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
It just how does that player elevate against some of the better talent? We'll see.
But also worth mentioning as we wrap on the receivers before we do the same exercise with the O-line, the way practice squads work now, that's a valuable guy to have. Like,
Yeah.
hey, let's say it's the middle of the season. Let's say Noah Brown's fine, but it's week 7, and now Noah Brown, strains his calf, and he's going to be out for a week. Okay, let's call up Strachan from the practice squad, and we have a dude who's ready to play NFL football. Or let's call up Chris Moore from the practice squad, and we have a dude that's ready to play NFL football. You obviously want some of your developmental types. Really, the only guy we didn't talk about in the receiver room is Ja'Cory Brooks, who we've talked about a little bit before. He's flashed a little bit, the UDFA out of Louisville, made some nice plays here and there, but nothing crazy. Probably not going to make the team, but he could have a great camp and make the team. Like that's the nature of that position, especially because you're kind of in the eyes of everyone as a playmaker or a potential playmaker. But I think the way practice squads work now, you want some guys that have some experience, and you want some guys that are developmental projects. You want guys that maybe can play for you in 2 years, but you want guys that can play for you this week that also, by the way, might give your actual guys, because they're out there for actual practice, right? Like, would you rather, if you're, having to practice running routes against someone, would you rather a borderline NFL veteran linebacker that you're running against, or a UDFA that you can smoke because he's 2 years away from being good? Like, if you're trying to get ready for a game, you'd rather play the vet. And so, if you're Trey Amos, the reps against Chris Moore, practice squad Chris Moore in September, are more valuable to you than against Ja'Cory Brooks, because Chris Moore knows how and is going to more resemble what you're going to see on Sunday. And so I think those guys are worth mentioning because they can have an impact on the team, even if they don't even wind up making the team, with the way practice squads work, which is a relatively new thing in the NFL, because back when you played and I was on the beat, like, those guys, there wasn't the unlimited call-ups. Like, it was just a very different system than is in place now. And I think that for development and for quality practice, this system is significantly better.
No, 100%. I think that's the thing that's exciting about the receiver group, and the receivers they kept last year on practice squad. They're guys that are developmental pieces, which I think is great. So it allows you to keep a high level of depth at the position, and also allows you some developmental elements if you think a guy's warranting of that spot. So, and the other thing I think that to again give Adam Peters his flowers, I thought he did a great job last year of finding a Strachan. Like, he found him on practice squad last year and brought him in, and Chris Moore on practice squad last year, and they were able to poach and pick and find guys on waiver claims and bring them in. And so I think that's going to be a constantly developing group, but it's going to be an area for them to foster talent. Like, think about it. Like, they were able to get futures contracts on Chris Moore and Strachan because of the practice squad structure. So I think that's a great opportunity, again, to just continue to develop and find good football players for the Washington Commanders.
All right. If you want the full conversation, just check out the Take Command podcast, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And of course, this show is on demand. If you miss any part of it, you can check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up next, we also stream live on YouTube every single day. We also put some of these segments up on YouTube of both Take Command and this show. You guys leave comments on them, and then we read them. Some of them we read on the air. It's a segment we ironically call Never Read the Comments. It's at 5:30 on Thursdays. And oh, would you look at the time? Never read the comments. Next. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. 1 hour from now, my pal Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati, joins the show because they have a nightmare happening. Their front office, again, is in a fight with a star player. In fact, they're fighting with two. They have two guys that they want to be starting at edge this year. Rookie Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson, the vet, and both of them hate the organization right now. So, good job, Bengals. Really bungled that one. We'll talk to Mo Egger about it and why they're fighting over a contract with a rookie coming up at 6:30. Right now, though, Anthony, it's just after 5:30 on a Thursday. Does that mean it's time?
We tried to warn them. They didn't listen. Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
All right, this show streams live on YouTube all 3 hours daily at the Team 980. Then you leave your comments on the on-demand portions of it or on the full show. Either way, we'll see them at Craig Hoffman, at the Team 980. And we pick the best or the most intriguing or the funniest, and we read them in this here segment called Never Read the Comments, starting with some absolutely unbelievable haterade, Anthony. Young Feet 7 says... Feet, P-H-E-E-T, by the way. It's kind of one where you say it out loud and you go, why did I just say that out loud?
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes, so, we got like videos of different guys out there, putting those up on YouTube Shorts. I think this was on little video drill I had of Marshawn Lattimore. And he goes, love not seeing St. Juice out there.
Yikes.
What'd that man do to you?
Yeah, that's brutal.
Damn. World-class haters. Especially on Benjamin St. Juice. I never said he was great, but he was a nice fella. You can leave him alone. He's out there in L.A. now. Leave that man alone. And then there's this one from Brian Mulholland, 2467. On Take Command, I talked about the Cole Turner rule, Anthony, which is that I refuse to believe in Cole Turner until he does it in preseason games. Because like last year, Cole Turner was really good in camp, made some plays, and then gets out there in preseason, drop, and you're like, damn, how many times the ball is going to hit you in the hands, bro? And some of them weren't even really his fault, but it was just like, this is your chance to make a play and make the team, and it is literally slipped through your hands again. So Cole Turner looking good again, but I refuse to get excited about Cole Turner until much deeper into training camp. And so Brian says, I think Craig's Cole Turner rule is probably a rule we should apply to everyone all the time. However, I suspect that does not make for good radio.
I think he's onto something.
I think he is onto something. I think that if we just said, I don't know, welcome to the We'll See Hour, that we'd probably get fired. So let's recklessly speculate, shall we? Which brings us to the main story, the main topic of the week in our comments, which is Terry McLaurin and his contract. And I would say if I was reading these comments and I was Adam Peters, one, I should probably get off the internet because why is Adam Peters reading my YouTube comments? As Craig Hoffman. But Adam Peters would probably not be super psyched about where public sentiment is based off a polling of our YouTube comments when it comes to the disagreement between Terry McLaurin and his representatives and the team. And it's not surprising. And this is why I'm curious if we ever find out what the numbers are that are being thrown around each side. Because as I talked about earlier in the week and in the segment that many of you were leaving comments on, as well as our chat with J.I. Halsell on this, the NFL salary cap analyst and agent who joined us earlier this week, many of the comments coming from that as well. But my main point is I can understand the arguments on both sides of this, but ultimately it comes down to a sweet spot in the middle where it's right for the age. It's right for the team's long-term prognosis. It's right for Terry. The guaranteed money is good. The agent gets what they want. The player gets what they want. The team gets what they want. There is a sweet spot that feels fair here. So I want to know, are both sides offering on the wrong side of the sweet spot? Is one side in the sweet spot and the other is like, no, that's not good enough? And who that is matters in terms of how I feel about it. However, we have many comments that don't exactly reflect the same view. Mario CK3ES says, you can slice this any way, but at the end, Terry should always get his money. Just pay the man. Stop playing front office. Don't keep effing around. We have ones like QButt4545. I just read them. It's B-U-T. It's not B-U-T-T. Maybe there's another way. QB-UT. QB-U-T. Here's what they said. I honestly believe with Terry McLaurin having a fantastic season last year, just pay the man. I want him here in Washington as long as Jaden Daniels is here. Yes, he's getting older, but at the end of the day, he is a strong receiver, disciplined route runner. This man is legit. He may not have the speed going down, but you put him in the middle and give him space. I'm telling you, this man will never, ever let you down. Pay this man. And while I don't know that he's the most precise route runner and he does have speed to burn for days, the sentiment is kind of what the organization is dealing with here. The idea that fans just want to see Terry McLaurin play football. That's the role of the fan here in many ways. They're not necessarily rooting for the organization to win, although it's funny because a lot of times you are. It's like, this guy's being greedy, whatever. And that's not how people feel about Terry because of what Terry has meant to the team, to the town, to them. Like so many of the positive memories that Terry are of this football team, Terry plays a key role in. Before, obviously, most of them before last year, going all the way back to his rookie season. It feels like he's had magical moments, even in losses, or one of the few guys that you feel really proud of, repping the burgundy and gold. But then even last year, I mean, the Cincinnati touchdown, the Dallas touchdown that should have been a bigger moment if they hadn't botched the special team stuff around it. There's just so many different moments of the touchdown, the screen pass in the playoff game. Like, man scored 13 touchdowns last year. He was awesome. He's shown absolutely no signs of slowing down. So what's the deal? But then you have fans that don't really seem to understand the market, and there's a lot of those out there too. And if I was Adam Peters and I heard this, I would probably make it a little bit easier for me, frankly, to laugh at them and just be like, okay, these people don't know what they're talking about. Joshua Pittman, 92.35. 4 years, $125 million, 91 guaranteed. Solved. Sure, if you're Terry and his agent, you sign that whenever the second this is it? Okay, we're done negotiating here. Thank you. Terry's not getting $90 million guaranteed, including in this arrangement. DJ Grim Reaper, $30 million per year for 3 years, but just fully guarantee the $90 million to show him you love him. By then, we will have to get Jaden locked in. And like, yeah, okay, cap space in 3 years. And do they have the cap space to do something like that? Maybe. But that's not how contracts work. Like, you're not doing a fully guaranteed deal. Unless could you do like 2 for 60? Maybe, but that's not super team friendly in the way that contracts usually work. And when we say team friendly, the reason that contracts get deemed team friendly, for instance, DK Metcalf's contract, it's 5 for 130, I think, or something around those lines. It's actually very team friendly, even though he's averaging 33 a year average annual value, right? It's a good headline for the agent, but there's no guaranteed money in the final 3 years. So you spread the cap hit out because I've done this before. Hopefully this makes sense when I do it on the radio without any kind of like chart to supplement. But basically, you have guaranteed salary money in any given year, and you can distribute that throughout the deal however you want. First year can be really low, first year can be really high. You can do however you want. But in the salary or the signing bonus, and there's obviously roster bonuses, workout bonuses, and other things that count different ways. But the two big numbers when you figure out a cap hit are the signing bonus and the guaranteed salary. You take the signing bonus, the total number, which in DK's case was $30 million, and you divide it over the length of the deal. So no matter what, for 5 years, DK Metcalf will count $6 million plus the base salary on the Steelers' cap. So in this season, where his base salary is low, it's only $5 million this year, which DK, by the way, doesn't care as much about because even though the salary cap number is prorated for the signing bonus, he gets all the cash at once. So he just got $30 million when he signed in cash minus the taxes, and then he will get 17 game checks or 18 game checks or weekly checks during the season for whatever 18 weeks divided by $5 million is. right? Or $5 million divided by 18 weeks. Next year, he doesn't have that signing bonus money. That's a year in the past. So he has a higher base salary, and his checks during the season will be bigger. And then in year 3, and I think next year it's like 20-something million, and plus the $6 million. So let's say it's 22 plus the $6 million. And then you get to $28 million on the cap hit. Okay. Year 3, he's supposed to make like $31 million in base salary, plus the $6 million signing bonus. But none of it's guaranteed. So they could cut him after 2 years. And then for the final 3 years of the original contract, even though he's been cut, he'll still count $6 million. And if you have the ability to do that, like the Steelers do, because they're an older team without a ton of long-term commitments. Most of their best players are going to be guys they're hoping to draft in the next couple of years. Then you don't mind those $6 million cap hits multiple years down the line. If you're the Commanders, you look at that contract structure and you go, I don't want a cap hit 4 years from now because I'm going to need every dollar for someone that's on the team to go with Jaden Daniels' mega extension and probably a pretty significant pay check for Mike Sainer still. And you're hoping a pretty significant paycheck for Johnny Newton. And so if you're looking at all those guys, and they can move some of that around because you're extension eligible after 3 years, they might sign Jaden immediately, and then maybe they do Mikey 1 year and then Newton the next, or flip those around, however they want to do it to try to spread it a little bit out. But also have the leverage of, hey, if you don't like what we want, we franchise tag you. And I didn't realize I'm deep in the contract weeds here, but this stuff is important. If you're looking to get everyone something easy and you have the flexibility that the Steelers had, you can sign a deal where the agent's really happy because his headline is 5 years, $130 million, 33 AAV. DK got 60-something guaranteed, even though he probably thought I hope he understood what that deal was, because buddy, you ain't getting most of that $150 million. You're probably getting closer to 60 than you are 150. And then the team is happy because they can spread out the cap hits. They just if DK was or his agent was being hard about, we want to be $33 million at AAV, it's like, fine, we'll make your final year $40 million, but you're never going to get it. That number literally is fake. It doesn't matter. The Commanders can't do that with Terry because Jaden's contract is looming. And so it really needs to be a 3, maybe 4-year deal if you're willing to put a little bit of money in year 4. But ideally, I think you're looking at a 3-year deal with the first 2 years pretty fully guaranteed. And then if Terry balls out and you want to let him play out that final year of year 3, or you want to sign him to a extension then to bring your cap number down, you could. Or you could count on bringing that cap number down in year 4 if you wanted to extend out to 4 years. Now, those are decisions that they're having to make. But, Terry's agent's job is to get him what he thinks the best deal is. So, again, where I've kind of landed is, let's go 3 for $90. That gets you to the $30 million a year. Let's get you to just above what DK got in fully guaranteed. So 61, 62, 63 million. You're looking at, in that final year, if it's 61, or actually I'll go 63 just for the easier math. That is, if the signing bonus becomes 33 million, right? It's $11 million of dead money in the last year. And you could probably save a significant amount of cap by moving on if you want to, or you can restructure and figure it out. And that's that. But I don't know which side is off of that right now, but that feels like the right deal. Okay, back to the comments and kind of where Terry ranks amongst the wide receivers. This one's a little bonkers. Yankees NY 28. Terry is worth more than $30 million. AJ Brown is getting $32 million a year, at least $33.5 for Terry. Yo, I love me some Terry McLaurin. AJ Brown's a better football player. There's an argument to be made that AJ Brown's the best receiver in football. Like, we don't talk about him on the level that we do Chase and Jefferson. We probably should. He has been so absurdly productive. The numbers are crazy when you look at like a per route, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, he's had a massive effect on winning for the Eagles. AJ Brown is younger and better. So you're not going to get... if you get AJ Brown money, it's because your agent did a great job of saying the market has advanced, not because Terry is actually better than AJ Brown. But where does Terry rank? This was an interesting back and forth with Just Man 9925. He's just a guy. Just man, 99.25. Realistically, Terry is not a top 15 wide receiver. That said, I still think they should pay something similar to DK. So I responded back, and I was like, name 15 better. And he responded, in my opinion, not factoring in age, to be generous to Terry, I think every GM without hesitation is taking Hill, as in Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Drake London, T. Higgins, and Mike Evans. With a larger sample size, probably even Thomas and McConkey. There are a few other names, but I think those aren't clear upgrades over Terry, so I won't list them. That said, I think it's fair to say Terry isn't a true wide receiver one, but given his long tenure as a Commander and his steady production, he is deserving of a $28 to $38 million contract. He was just wide receiver one on a 12-win team that went to the NFC Championship game, and he scored 13 touchdowns, had like 1,200 yards, was an all-pro. If that's not wide receiver one, like, I do not know what the heck is. So that would be thing one. Thing two, Terry's consistency over guys like Garrett Wilson. I would take Terry over Garrett Wilson. For 5 years, maybe not. For this year, for next year, until I see a more consistent version of Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson's a lot like Terry. You give him an awesome quarterback, he's probably going to be awesome. You get him with inconsistent Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson, he's going to be frustrated a lot. And they're different players, but eventually production has to matter. And that's the thing with Terry. Like Puka Nacua, very different player than Terry McLaurin. Almost impossible to compare. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think Terry can do what Amon-Ra can do. I also don't think Amon-Ra can do what Terry can do. Being outside, taking the top off the defense in the way that he does. Nico Collins, different type of player, the size that Nico has. But Terry plays pretty big. Drake London, I think, is emerging to be better than Terry, probably, but he's not there yet. He hasn't had the consistency yet. Last year was his first 1,000-yard season. Terry's had 1,000 yards basically every year of his career. The only one he didn't was his rookie season because he missed the last 2 games with a concussion. He was at 900-something yards in 15 games, I think it was. So, yes, are many of the guys named here in the same tier as Terry? Yes. Would every GM take them over Terry? No. And should this GM take them over Terry? No, because of what Terry means and the leadership and his role in the locker room and like the culture and all this stuff that you preach being so important, you can't just throw out. And that is where I think some of the people that try to nitpick Terry lose me is we have 7 years of production. And I realize past performance isn't always indicative of future success, but you tell me where the flashing red light is outside of his birth certificate in terms of why Terry is going to all of a sudden fall off. This last point on Terry, I just want to read real quick. This was a good comment. Then we have some fun ones at the end, as we are wont to do here. I never read the comments. Juan Dixon for MVP, who I think is in his second straight never read the comments, so congratulations to you, Juan Dixon, for MVP. They're trying to set a standard for future negotiations. If you look at the 49ers play, they negotiate pretty tough, and Adam Peters comes from that school. And I do think that is a good point on the way out here to say, outside of the Cosmi extension and obviously the Jeremy Reeves extension, both of which were kind of done quietly. Cosmi's a star for a guard, but he's a guard. Like he's really, really good, but he's a guard. Revo is a special teams guy and signed a 1-year extension. This is Adam Peters' first big, and especially his first big public extension that he's had to do as the GM of the Commanders. And making sure you draw some level of a line in the sand is something that feels like good business. I don't know how much I actually believe that. It sounds tough. And I'm sure it does matter on some level. I'm not fully dismissing it. But ultimately, you want to have a good partnership with the agents that you deal with. You want to have a good partnership with the players. You want to feel like you're all getting what you need to do to make the player happy and win. And until we know what the numbers going back and forth here are, it's hard, again, to evaluate if someone's messing that up and if so, who. But it is something that I know happens. It is worth mentioning that Peters might also not want to give an extra $1 million here, $1 million there, where he might if he was 10 years into his career and this was Terry McLaurin in the same situation, considering who the player is. But considering this is first, you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm a walkover. I'm going to lose negotiations. And he's got a long-term vision, obviously, for the club, and he understands the salary cap ramifications of that. All right, last but not least, wrapping up with a couple fun ones here at the end. Anthony, you ready for these?
Yes, sir.
They're off a reel that we did on YouTube that is very old, but for some reason is going through the algorithm again. Remember when we discussed whether DC was in the South or not?
Of course, I remember.
Yeah, it was probably almost a full year ago. I'd have to look at the date on it.
Possibly.
But it's going through the algorithm because I've gotten some fresh comments on it. Travis Brand, 3135, took it way too seriously. Stop using the Mason-Dixon line argument. The Mason-Dixon line, when it was surveyed by Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon between 1763 and 1767, was not created with the intention of dividing the North and South. Its original purpose was to resolve a land dispute between the British colonies of Maryland and Pennsylvania/Delaware, specifically the Calvert family of Maryland and the Penn family of Pennsylvania. This dispute had led to significant conflict and bloodshed.
Nice.
My response in the year of our Lord 2025 was, you seem fun at parties.
I'm in tears.
And then in terms of the argument, this is not in response to the previous comment, but it kind of could be. Gary Jewell, 2015 says, really, who gives a...
Nice.
He did self-censor. F and 3 asterisks.
I think we know what the F stands for. Word to Lil Wayne.
Yeah. That's Never Read the Comments, everybody. Here on The Hoffman Show, you can get yours in at Craig Hoffman or at the Team 980. We'll read a new batch next week. When we get back here on The Hoffman Show, it's our Pick 6 at 6. You'll hear Dan Quinn's comments today as we wrap up Commanders minicamp. Didn't we learn our lesson yesterday, Anthony, about playing guest intro music?
Although I think not, Craig.
Darren's not here anymore, so we can. This song's back on the table. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, we are behind because I didn't stop yapping during Never Read the Comments. So let's get to it. Pick six time.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, here we go with number one.
Number 1.
And the latest update on Noah Brown is that there's not really an update. Here's Dan Quinn.
I have no update. I know he's getting an MRI today, this afternoon. So, I don't want to speculate.
On what?
Yeah, MRI today. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for playing. I always love when they schedule the MRIs or they get the medical updates conveniently right after the press conference. Hate how that just seems to always happen. I'm sure that after the MRI results are in, folks like John Keim, who you heard asking the question there, Nikki Javala, Ben Standig will be asking for updates from their sources. And so stay tuned to the feeds of your social media feeds of your choice of your favorite reporters. And hopefully we get some new intel soon. But obviously Brown left the field yesterday on a cart and was in some pain, but we still don't have any idea what is wrong with him and how long he's going to be out. But now you know that, and we promise you the storylines and headlines. Mission accomplished. Off we go to more substantive things.
Number 2.
The offseason brought a lot of new faces yet again for the Commanders, not quite as many as last year. But Quinn was asked today which of the offseason acquisitions has really stood out to him so far.
A number of them, honestly. Deebo, I think, has been very impressive to me for maybe a different reason than I thought. he was such a difficult person to tackle that you spent so much time, how are you going to tackle this person? And somewhere along the way, I've forgotten until out here, like how fast he is. And so sometimes when you're playing against a receiver, you say, man, you better either get him at the line or you better be on top of him. With him, so many times there were so many, run after catch plays that we had a tackling plan and how would you go about it. And then I can remember one time, like, he just ran by somebody down the field on a deep ball, and I was like, yeah, I forgot about that. So that, it didn't surprise me, but it was like, maybe I missed talking about it to that space because it was easily reminded, like, he's one of the fastest players on the team.
So while everyone on the internet who doesn't know anything about anything and wasn't at camp is talking about how Deebo Samuel is out of shape, his head coach is reminded that he's one of the fastest players on the team. Seems relevant. All right, off we go to number 3.
Number 3.
Now the Commanders are done for the offseason. They're done for spring. Next up, summertime, a.k.a. training camp, which to me is like the intro to the season. So we've closed the book on the offseason. Of course, there still is the open book on Terry McLaurin's contract and any other business that's going to get done. But really, it's just kind of hold your breath time. Hope everybody gets to camp healthy and all of that. Quinn asked a couple of questions about this remaining time before camp today, though, starting with what he wants the rookies to do with this time.
Yeah, we talked, Adam and I visited with each one specifically. So we had a one-on-one meeting over the last week. Where are they? How's it been? And going through that process with them, what does the next 40 days look like in terms of moving here instead, even, away from football? Like, it's so easy to get to where you're training and what does this look like compared to, man, like, who's coming? What is that? Where are they? How are all the things? And so we wanted to check on, who the person was first. And then we got into, all right, I'm going to go to Fort Lauderdale. That's where I want to train. I'm going to come back here and train, during that break time. So one-on-one times, and I would say they're all accustomed to who needed what the most. It was good to see some guys really coming in with a plan, because you're already coming in with ideas and thoughts about what you want to get done, man. Like, you're already moving forward than waiting for Adam or I to say, I think you need to start doing X, Y, and Z. So I love seeing when people are already coming in with a share of, like, hey, man, the self-awareness to know this is what I got to get done.
So we'll see what these rookies can get done and the vets over the next couple of weeks. If anybody, pops a little bit in training camp that's like, oh, that wasn't there in the spring. That's always a fun moment for us when we get to July and August. As for some of Quinn's favorite moments of camp, we'll close out the first part of our Pick Six with that in a moment. But first, his plans. Dan, what are you doing with, like, the only 6 weeks off that you have in your calendar?
Yeah, I need to recharge too. And so as coaches, our times together are pretty intense. We're looking at this, then the draft, and then into the offseason. And I think I told you earlier, the offseason is a really busy time for the coaches from the teaching standpoint. And so we pushed ourselves to see if we could elevate to help the players elevate. I think it's wrong to ask them to get better and we stay the same. I think we would shortchange them. So if we could get better, we would allow them to get better. And so, I look forward to those spaces in between and try to max them out and charge it up. So then when I do come back, like, everybody gets all the energy, that I have. Because usually by the end of each of the processes, the battery's in the red, season, off season. And so, those times in between are important for me.
So we'll see. Good follow-up question. Where are you going on vacation, bro? I feel like Dan Quinn probably takes some fun vacations. We'll have to ask him that when he gets back. Last but not least, what was the highlight of the OTA period, including this mandatory minicamp? Quinn, on that?
I love that we came back in, like, really hungry to prove it, John. And that's, I think, a good sign, as opposed to, letting your skills go, down, or your eye not as sharp, or those things. So to come in with things specific to work on to go get better, that was big for me. And then to see people begin who were here year one to help the first-year players now, first-year free agents, first-year rookies get up to speed. When I see Nick Ballore over the last 3 days, like, teaching like he's a coach, that means a lot, because we don't ask Nick to do that. But that's how he pays it forward to the other guys here, and that's what a leader does, of helping get everybody ready. And so I saw him with Bill. I saw him with not just another linebacker. He was with a running back, talking through punt technique and what to do. And so, like, that to me, John, is what I'd hoped I'd see from developing leaders, that it doesn't just come from the coaches. Through my time, man, have I learned a lot from players over my last 25 years or so. So, like, that was cool to see.
Actually, funny Quinn says that, because in a recent interview he did with Chris Long on the Greenlight podcast, he talked about how he learned certain things from certain guys, including Hall of Famers like Jason Taylor. He's like, I learned how to long arm from Jason Taylor. So now is when any D lineman that has learned a long arm from Dan Quinn over the past 20 plus years, you can thank Jason Taylor, the Hall of Famer, for that. So very cool stuff there from Quinn. When we get back, the back half of our pick six, Jaden Daniels, the offensive line, and the culture. Those will probably be pretty big keys to success for the Commanders in 2025. So what if I told you you get to hear from Dan Quinn and Laramie Tunsil on all three of those things? Well, if that excites you, stay tuned, because that's all what's going to happen next.
Wrapping up our pick six at 6 here on the Hoffman Show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Mo Eggert, ESPN, 15:30 in Cincinnati. Mo is going to give us the latest in the saga of the Bengals and fighting with their own players. A tale as old as time. In the meantime, though, a competent organization. Your favorite team, the Washington Commanders. Yes, we're in the middle of our pick six at 6, where we look at the biggest headlines, storylines, and sound bites of the day. And we pick up with number 4.
Number 4.
Jaden Daniels, a topic of discussion always for the Commanders, and that includes not only for his head coach, but his brand new left tackle, Laramie Tunsil, speaking for the first time today as a member of the Commanders to the media in person. He did an introductory Zoom call a couple of months ago, but Tunsil talked about building a rapport with Jaden Daniels.
I try to get as close to as I can. I mean, as a quarterback, that's somebody I got to protect. So I try to put my life on the line from, football terms, of course. But y'all see it. He's a baller. It's not much to say about Jaden. Y'all seen what he did last year. I mean, he was a rookie of the year for a reason.
Yeah. The comfort level that he has is just outstanding. And the command he has, how comfortable he is on the field has kind of always been there. But now you see it with the guys, the way he's bopping around the field. There's a sense of ownership that I feel like he has. And that stuck out to his head coach, Dan Quinn, as well.
I felt that.
Hey, I potted you down.
Okay, just remember you're going over the stream.
Oh.
Scrimmage a lot.
I'll text you.
Really comfortable in that. He was always somebody that, really was on his details. What I guess seeing now is just the accuracy, the footwork, so more of his body mechanics that he wanted to emphasize. I see that coming through in his play. I see the speed, that he's, out on the edge with. So those are the things that during the off-season time that, you can really push it. So we had one where he had a keeper yesterday. He turned it in, where he was up the sideline for 30 or 40 yards. And he was one of the fastest players on the field on that play. And so those are the ones that, okay, that's a person being aggressive to go take their shot. And then I would say the individual time with new players, he did some of that last year, honestly. When Noah came, I can remember him staying after and working with him. But seeing him put in the work with different people who are new to him and to the organization, I think that speaks of the leadership. It's not anything that I asked him to do, but he knew for that person and him to be in sync, there had to be some unseen work together. And so those would be a few of the things.
So when you talk about ownership, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is what it takes to win. I will do it then. It's as simple as that for Jaden Daniels. As for the protectors of Jaden Daniels.
Number 5.
First, let's start with Quinn and the latest on the right side of the offensive line before we get to Tunsil and the left. Obviously, Josh Connerly is the hope at right tackle, but he's got to win that job. And then it is a rotation of a bunch of different guys trying to replace Sam Cosmi at right guard. Cosmi, by the way, has been doing some work on the field. He's probably still a long way away from contact, but it's nice to see him out there doing some stuff. But here was Dan Quinn on the right side of his offensive line earlier today.
Yeah, I know that with Sam, he's hitting all the benchmarks, but when does that, get there? I don't know. I'm not there yet to knowing we're not going to miss one step with him. What I do know is that I love the competition that we have on the offensive line right now, at guards and centers and who's playing at right tackle and how we're working through the guys. So it'll take some work as we're going through into training camp. But those are the types of challenges you want as a coach. It's not who in the hell is going to play over here? It's more this is going to be an absolute battle to see where it goes. So that's most of the times been my experience for him, where the competition of one another really pushes us forward and the whole group gets better.
Logan and I actually had a big discussion on Take Command this morning. If you want more conversation about that right side, some names to watch, as well as kind of what we think of Allegretti and Wiley and Nate Erbig is a guy that's played really good football in his career, but was banged up the last couple of years in Pittsburgh. So a lot to digest on that right side. And, of course, that's only if Wiley doesn't need to play right tackle because Connerly takes 2. And there's been some flashes of brilliance from Connerly. There's also flashes of, that dude's a rookie and he still needs to get a lot stronger. And that's what you'd expect. He's a late first-round pick. But we're going to learn a lot more once the pads get on in August. And right now, all we had is a couple of non-padded OTA sessions. There's only so much we can see out of those. As for the left side, that one's easier. Brandon Coleman's going to play left guard, and Laramie Tunsil is going to play left tackle. And Tunsil is quite impressed with his new teammates.
Dogs, absolutely. Dogs. I think moving BC inside. And then, you know who I'm really impressed with, though? JC. JC is going to be a dog. And I'm not just saying that just to blow smoke up his ass. Pardon my sorry language, but JC's going to be a dog, man. I can't wait to see it.
Why do you say that?
Just the way he's moved, the way he's been, athletic, smart, very intelligent. I think he got all the tools to be a damn good player in this league.
That's high compliments from a guy who is a damn good player. Of course, JC, Josh Connerly, the first-round pick out of Oregon. And, man, you see it sometimes. The way that dude gets out in space, you're like, oh, there's the first-round talent. Again, Dietrich Wise is probably going to run him over at some point during training camp because Dietrich Wise is an old vet who's stronger than hell. And maybe Kinlaw, same thing. Payne, if he gets out on the edge. I mean, shoot, Dorrance Armstrong might bull rush him and lift him up off the ground at some point because he's a rookie and he's learning. But I'd rather that happen in training camp than in week 1 or week 7 or week 15 as he's trying to protect Jaden Daniels for real. So it's going to be a learning process. If not, like, then he was way underdrafted. He should have been a top 10, top 5, top whatever pick. If you're a ready-made, on-go, no learning curve guy at a premium position like tackle, like, come on. But we know that there's going to be a lot of growth, but there's also tremendous upward potential because the skill set is there for Connerly. All right, last but not least,
number 6.
we know the culture is a big draw for players coming to Washington, and that certainly includes Laramie Tunsil.
I mean, it's something special for sure. I mean, I think DQ did a good job putting the coaches together, putting the players together, and just embracing this new chapter with the Washington Commanders. I've been here for 2 days, man. I love the atmosphere. Good energy, good people, man.
All the Tunsil sound, by the way, courtesy of ABC7, so appreciate them posting that up and letting us play it. That's it for our Pick 6 at 6. Coming up next, as we wrap the Commanders' offseason and feel like, okay, we got to get this Terry thing done, but that is a usual NFL contract kerfuffle that will probably get done. There's nothing usual about what is happening in Cincinnati. The Trey Hendrickson, that's kind of usual. Shamar Stewart, their first-round pick, leaving mandatory minicamp over a contract dispute, over contract language. What in the absolute heck is going on in Cincy? No one better to answer that question than Mo Egger, who's been on the radio there for decades, grew up in Cincinnati, and is as plugged in as anybody on the Bengals. Mo joins us next here on The Hoffman Show. Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. And it's our pleasure to be joined now by our friend Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati. Mo's been on the show before. And Mo, I feel like you get to be on the show frequently because there are frequently shenanigans and chicanery with the local football team up there. And this is a new one, though. Never heard of a rookie leaving mandatory minicamp over a contract dispute before. Is this new even for you with all the silliness that's gone on with the Bengals over the years?
You know, I thought living here my entire life and knowing this franchise the way I do, I thought I really had seen and experienced everything. This is a new one, man. This is different, and you know, there's sort of a little bit of a callback to, you know, the pre-2011 CBA when it felt like there was a Bengals rookie holdout every single summer. But I think we all assumed that once, you know, the new rules kicked in, which really aren't new anymore, that things like this would be a thing of the past. And as it turns out, not so much. And I never really thought anything was going to slide the Trey Hendrickson contract thing to the background, but this has done that. And I don't know that this is going to get resolved anytime soon.
So what is at odds here, Mo? Like, this is a rookie contract. They're scaled. There's only so much to fight over. What are they fighting over?
Well, without boring everybody by diving too into the weeds, they're essentially haggling over language. And the language that they're haggling over is language that they have never put in a contract before. They've never done this with an established player. They've never done this with a rookie. They've never done this with anybody. And what the language the Bengals want to put in the contract would allow them to do is basically void guaranteed money. In essence, if Shamar Stewart screws up, right? If he does something that violates a team rule, if he ends up being not so much a bust on the field, but if he does something to screw up, the Bengals want to be able to void guarantees. And there are teams that do that. The Philadelphia Eagles, most notably, have had some of their recent draft picks sign a contract with similar language. The Bengals have never done this. And so Shamar Stewart's case is, I don't want to be the guy you set the precedent with. In fact, his dad went on a podcast, and you'll have to forgive me for not knowing which one it was, but about a week and a half ago said, look, you want to set a new precedent. How about this? How about win the Super Bowl this year and then do it next year with the guy you took 32nd overall instead of the guy you took 17th overall? And Shamar's position is, look, I was taken 17th by this team. Last year, the Bengals drafted 18th. They didn't make that player, Amarius Mims, sign a contract with this language in it. The year before, they drafted 18th, Miles Murphy. They didn't ask him to sign a contract with this language in it. And so you've got a little bit of a standoff. What makes this different is not only has he not signed a contract, a lot of draft picks, Travis Hunter perhaps most notably, they show up to minicamp and they sign a waiver, and, you know, even though they're not under contract, they still at least go through minicamp. Shamar Stewart has been around. He's been at all the OTAs. He's been at all the voluntary workouts since he got drafted, and he was there for the first couple of days of minicamp, but he's not practicing. And because he was there, he was, you know, essentially made available to the media, just one of those deals where he's sitting by his locker, and the reporters come over and start talking to him, and he, as the media session unfolded, started to throw the Bengals under the bus in ways that I've seen a lot of veteran players do, a lot of established players, a lot of players who have just become exasperated with the Bengals over the years. I've seen guys like that throw the Bengals under the bus. I've never seen a guy who has yet to play it down or sign a contract in the NFL say the things that Shamar Stewart said about the Bengals on Tuesday. He was there for day 2 of minicamp yesterday, left for day 3 today. And I'm going to guess that was sort of done with both sides agreeing it's probably best for Shamar Stewart to not be around as long as he remains not under contract.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Bengals, who, by the way, had this impromptu presser with Trey Hendrickson a couple of weeks ago, being like, you know, I think we're tired of impromptu pressers. We'll see you when you're ready to sign. Mo, I guess I am going to just straight up ask you basically to take sides here, but I think it's really easy to be like, hey, rookie, like, you haven't done anything. chill out, relax. And also, what are you worried about? Don't get in trouble off the field. And you won't have this contract clause won't matter. But also, I think this is astute business from him. And I'm sure his reps also were like, yeah, we're not going to be the agent that does this. So whose side are you on here if you look at the substance of the argument?
Well, I don't think that Shamar Stewart, what he did on Tuesday, was helpful. I don't think that was, if the idea was to start getting into a public war of words with the Cincinnati Bengals, you're going to lose. This franchise does not bend at anybody's knee. And so if the idea is for Shamar Stewart to eventually play for this franchise and enjoy a great working relationship with the people who run this franchise, we're not off to a very good start as is. Tuesday made it worse. But in terms of just the mechanics of what the two sides are at odds over, I'm on Shamar's side because, look, I understand what the Bengals are trying to do here. What the Bengals are trying to do is not unlike what a lot of teams have successfully done. But if I'm Shamar Stewart, if you want to put language in the deal that it enables you to get out if I screw up, why'd you draft me in the first place? And I kind of feel like that's his position. If you want to set a precedent with somebody, do it with somebody else. Do it next year. And I think the draft positioning is part of the component here, right? Like the Bengals have taken have drafted in the first round in the middle of round one each of the last 3 years, 18 each of the last 2 years, 17 last year. So on the team are players who have been drafted at a comparable place in round one. That's Shamar Stewart's case. Look, you want to do this with a guy you take in round two. You want to do this with a guy you take later in round one. If we have a good season, have at it. I don't want to be the guinea pig, so to speak. I don't want to be the guy you use to set a precedent. And I can't blame him for that. I don't think he is necessarily wrong. But, you know, the side that I'm really taking more than anybody else's is Joe Burrow's and Zach Taylor's, the two people who have the most riding on the success of this season. This was a team that last year had a million distractions during training camp. What happened when the season started? They began the year 0-3. 2 years ago, more questions about T. Higgins all through training camp. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow has had very few normal training camp practices because he's had a bunch of different injuries or health issues. And so 2 years ago, they start 0-2. Before that, it was the Jesse Bates contract situation, which just took on a life of its own in 2022. The season started. Joe Burrow wasn't 100%. They started 0-2. I think Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor were very hopeful that this offseason and this training camp could unfold with as few major issues as possible. I think the Trey Hendrickson issue, that contract standoff was always kind of inevitable. And I think everybody with the team sort of understood, all right, this is going to be, another one of those training camp holdouts or hold-ins. We know we're going to have to deal with that. How about you go ahead and for the sake of just some semblance of normalcy, which this franchise never enjoys, with a head coach on the hot seat, with a quarterback going into year 6, whose season last year you wasted, how about for the benefit of giving everybody a chance to have the most normal training camp possible, you go, okay, we're going to sign Shamar Stewart. We're going to agree to the terms we've always laid out for our prior draft choices. And we'll re-examine this contract language thing next year. I think if you're going to take sides, the real side to take are the two people who have most riding on this season. And by the way, who are the two people who have to speak most often on behalf of the Bengals because ownership's never made available. The de facto GM talks twice a year. So the coach and the quarterback end up being the spokespeople for the team. And you have Joe and Zach having to speak about contract situations that, quite frankly, they have nothing to do with. And I'm sure for both, if they were being honest, they would tell you is exhausting and exasperating.
Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati with us here on the Hoffman Show. So who is driving this bus on the Bengals side of it and why?
Well, we call it the family. It's the Brown family. Mike Brown is obviously the patriarch of the Brown family right now, Paul Brown's son. It has final say over anything and everything relating to the Cincinnati Bengals. But he has, over the last couple of decades, given a considerable amount of power to his daughter, Katie, Katie's son, Troy. They make most of the business decisions. I think when, if you're a player's agent negotiating with the Bengals, the person you're working with is Katie. Duke Tobin is the director of player personnel. He doesn't have the title of general manager, but that's essentially the role he serves in. I frankly, when it comes to something like this, I'm not sure how much of a role he has. It's the Brown family. And, you could say a lot of things about how the Brown family has run the Bengals, some very, very positive and some very, very negative, but they are obstinate. They are stubborn. And once they have established their position, it's really hard to get them to budge. A lot of players have found this out. And so I think it's going to be really fascinating. I think two things are going to be interesting. Number one, how long does this go? And number two, the only instance in the history of the franchise where somebody else got the Bengals to change their position was Joe Burrow last winter when he started campaigning for the team to sign T. Higgins, which they were not going to do. I think it'll be interesting if this is still ongoing when we get to the start of training camp, if Joe Burrow starts to express himself publicly the way he did with T.
So that gets to the final question, Mo, which is how do these two – we didn't even talk in detail about Hendrickson. We've talked about that before but really nothing's changed. It's like, are they going to trade him or not? If so, what's it going to take? What's the money that Trey is looking for, et cetera? Does he even want money from the Bengals at this point? But how do these two things get resolved? Do the Bengals ultimately back down, or does Stewart back down? And then is Hendrickson a Bengal when the season opens in September?
Well, the Bengals famously don't back down. Heck, they once had Carson Palmer tell them, I'm quitting. Unless you make some structural changes to the front office, which they didn't do, I'm quitting, or you could trade me. And they didn't trade him until 11 months later when the Oakland Raiders were so desperate for a quarterback who wasn't even in the league that they gave the Bengals a first round and a second round draft choice. So they're not just going to bend to the knee of a player popping off publicly. They're not going to bend to the knee of public opinion. I think the Shamar Stewart thing in the short term is going to require him to go, all right, screw it. I want to get to camp and start my career. I'll go ahead and sign the contract. If not, I could see this lasting all throughout training camp. The Trey Hendrickson thing, I think we would all be stunned at this point if they traded him. There is a contract offer out there. My guess is, and it's just a guess, is this ends up being one of those 11th hour things where Trey doesn't show up for most of training camp. Trey doesn't show up for the preseason. And then suddenly in the days leading up to the first game, suddenly the two sides come to an agreement on some sort of deal. And I think there's some negotiating room there. I think between what the Bengals have offered and what Trey is looking for, there is room if both sides are being reasonable to find some common ground. Problem is, I'm not sure either side right now is being reasonable. And right now, neither party is negotiating with the other.
Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Mo, appreciate the time as always, sir, and we will talk to you down the line.
Anytime, Craig. Thanks, man.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
got a show here on a Thursday. I did forget for a second that it's only Thursday because normally I don't do the show at home on Thursdays. I do it on Fridays. So we'll be back tomorrow for another one. Clint Yates scheduled to join us because it's Friday, and that's what he does on Fridays. We'll also preview Game 4 of the NBA Finals because we only got one day between games, so that's nice. Maybe a little NBA draft talk. Didn't have room for that today. Anything else we got on the old schedule for tomorrow, Anthony? Or are we looking at a pretty barren show right now?
We are looking at a pretty barren show, Mr. Craig Hoffman.
Okay, so if you would like to suggest anything to us, you can go to hoffmanshow.com and send us an email. Typically, our emails are just take command mailbag questions, but if you have an idea for this show, go right ahead. You can also hit me on Instagram at hoffman.sports. Other than that, I think the only thing we have left to do is play some funny sound bites. So let's do that.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
We have two great NFL stories. Do you want to start with the Randy Moss one, or do you want to start with the Kyle Long one?
I want to start with the Kyle Long one.
All right, Kyle Long, former NFL guard, was on his podcast and told this story about playing golf with the Haslam family, who owns the Cleveland Browns, a thing he didn't know he was initially doing.
I've got a story about the Haslam family, but I'm golfing at a very, very nice place in the Northwest. We're having beers. It's beautiful. The mountain air, high altitude. You know, these beers are strong. The twosome that we're playing against, well-dressed, old-school-looking, classy. And the one guy was like, hey, you look like a football player, and, you know, you got a pretty good swing. And, you know, were you an athlete? I said, yeah, I played football. He goes, where'd you play? I said, Chicago. I said, do you like football? Who's your team? Well, we like the Browns. I said, well, that sucks. And he goes, yeah, well, we own them. My buddy's standing across the green, and he knew, but he didn't know that I didn't know. And he looked at me like, you dumbass. And I just remember spending time with that family the rest of the day and just raving about how awesome the city of Cleveland was. Oh, the air show in July. And blah, 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 blah. I was trying to make up lost ground.
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Whoopsies. Also, not wrong. Oh, your favorite team's the Browns. That sucks. Their ownership. I mean, if that was me, it could have been worse, Anthony. Because I might have
just piled on.
I would have probably been like, oh, that sucks. Their ownership's terrible.
Oh my gosh. And then they probably would have hit you with the, tell me more, Craig. Tell me more.
They meddle. They've been incompetent. I mean, forcing the Watson trade was a nightmare. Plus, like, why'd you trade for that guy?
Oh, man.
Like, just, you know, hey, look, I covered Washington for a long time. I know what bad ownership looks like. And they'd be like, oh, well, funny news is that it's us. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know physically what it looked like, but that doesn't change any of my criticism.
No.
You're up on the tee, Jimmy.
Oh my God, that would have been something.
Would have been a nightmare. So there's that. You know that's true too, Anthony. Like what I just said about myself, 100%.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah. Oh well. Alex Smith, former Washington quarterback, of course, started his career in San Francisco and fairly early on had Randy Moss as a teammate. And let's just say their pregame routines are a little different.
I'll never forget how much anxiety I had right before games, doing your routine in the locker room before the game. The world, I feel like, is on me. And Randy Moss, one of the first games he's playing with us, I walked by Randy's locker, and he's got his feet propped up in the locker, and he's laying down on the ground, and he's got his laptop propped up in the locker, and he's watching SpongeBob SquarePants episode. Holy shit, this guy just watches SpongeBob before? He's, like, so relaxed. And I'm like, I couldn't be more clenched up.
Slightly different pregame routines. Alex Smith is, quote unquote, clenched up. Randy Moss, very relaxed.
Yeah, definitely different. SpongeBob?
Yeah. What should our, like, do we have pre-show routines, Anthony? I just kind of sit there in I don't know what you do. You're
I just turn on, I'll turn on NBA today.
Yeah, that's kind of been mine lately too.
And then I'll probably go heckle Darius, Ryan, Clary, and Toby.
Yeah.
For about 5-10 minutes, and then yeah.
I just kind of sit back there in the prep studio that I use and just kind of start reading stuff, get lost on social media. If I have to read something, then I'm like, oh, I got to make graphics right now.
Oh,
Because
we eat.
Russell's,
We eat before the show too.
Yeah, I mean depends. Sometimes I eat at home. Most of the time I wait till there because otherwise I'm very hungry. Like tonight, I'm very, very hungry. But the good news is, in 15 seconds, this edition of the show is over, and I can go eat. That's our show for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you tomorrow back here on the Team 980. Of course, YouTube as well, at the Team 980. Have an excellent Thursday evening, one and all.